events of 2020. They continue to bite us in the bum.
Imagine that.
Um, so James Bond, the new James Bond film, which I thought Daniel Craig was not going to be James Bond anymore. Apparently, keep shoveling money at him, he'll do it.
You keep shoveling money at most people, they'll keep doing it.
And what's interesting is most of our new viewers and listeners will not know that we started out as a movie review channel, which was
We did.
epic failure, pivoted. But what's interesting is this movie has been delayed several times now, like 3 times.
Originally slated for April of 2020.
No, I thought it was October of 2019, and it got pushed back from production delays.
And it may be all the way back to 2019. But look, it's not the only movie in that category either, right? And what we're about to discuss is actually, when you sent me this story, I thought, okay, it can't be. It's not something that I had thought of, but it is something that then turn around and you Google it and you go, how many movies are going to have this exact same problem, right? And what's the exact story, Danny? Tell me what the story is.
Here's the actual story. There's handfuls of product placement every movie, and if you're
every movie,
and if you're remotely, if you have any sort of awareness, which I do because I'm a brand marketing guy, I live and breathe it as a passion. You'll notice them. So I'll notice how on drives an Aston Martin. Right. So Aston Martin will time it's the release of its newer coupe. DB11 was initially supposed to come out when the movie came out. It didn't. It came out before the movie ended up coming out because the movie hasn't come out yet. They already started making it. Wow.
Right.
So what there's so much product placement, and one of them was Nokia. Nokia was based in this film, and Nokia's going, we come out with a phone every year. Gave you guys, right. I think they gave them a pre-production device, so they're like, okay, this will be out.
Nokia 8.3 with 5G was the one that they gave them for a couple of scenes in this movie.
Yeah.
But it's not just, and again, look, we're talking about phones in this case because that happens to be what changes a lot very quickly right now. But obviously product placement is everything from the clothes that they wear, the styles that they wear them in, shoes, cars, right? Everything that you can think of.
James Bond infamously wears an Omega watch, a Rolex and Omega. And Big Man is not a watch collector. I am. Omega had a huge announcement. They came out with a new piece this year.
Okay.
And they discontinued their moon watch and came out with a new version of the moon watch. Big deal, huge deal, massive deal, right? One tends to think, hey, maybe this was supposed to be featured in this film, and now they don't. What can they do, right? Happening in a lot of these movies. Now they're going back and they're editing in, they're cutting in the new device. Which, hey, listen, movie fans, you remember the hate crime that was the Justice League, because freaking Superman had to superimpose his face onto his own face. He grew out a beard for a role that he was in the Mission Impossible movie with a beard. So again, I'm offended that a Brit is playing Superman. Superman's American. He's from Kansas. There's no reason a British person should be playing Superman.
Hey, he did a really good job. Okay, I like him better in the what's the Netflix series? He's The Witcher. But anyway, the point. I get your point. Look, and isn't Snyder coming out with the director's cut of that's supposed to be like 5 hours long or something crap like that?
And it's coming out in 4 different parts, and I can't wait. I'm literally.
And I will watch it all. So we're still obviously big movie fans. But look, I thought interesting in this because it affects. Look, there's a lot of money and time that goes into making movies, obviously.
Huge.
And one of the ways they recoup that, especially during filming, is these product placements, right? They get money directly from these advertisers up front to put their products.
Was a huge sponsor.
Absolutely.
I'm a huge
so when
Adidas
you talk
guy,
about having to redo the movie, reshoot certain scenes, as you say, cut and edit and digitize these things, how does all that work out? Does Nokia want some of its money back? Do they just have to pay out of pocket? Production costs have to pay out of pocket for this?
Yeah, I don't know.
Actors to come in. Henry Cavill, which plays Superman, obviously, is the actor that plays Superman. Cavill. He's not coming in and reshooting this stuff for free. I'm certain. No, he's not going to come back. Play Superman. Well, we're talking about the James Bond movies, but actors aren't just going to come in a year and a half later, looking like they look for the same part.
There was a movie where there was main character, star leading role, got canceled, and they replaced him, and Mark Wahlberg was like, "Yeah, I'm not coming back for free," but an actress in the film, I think it was Renee Zellweger, like, "Yeah, I'll do it for free," just because she wanted the canceled actor to not be in the movie. She didn't care, but. I'm just saying, that.
Well, I'm sure it does happen, but I'm sure it's not standard, especially for big-time movie stars. They go from one movie to the next movie. Like, they could be in a completely different country, completely different set, completely different look, right? As far as size and shape, and some of these actors go back and forth.
Emily Blunt was supposed to play Black Widow. She actually won the part. And they actually were moving, I forget the gal's name off the top of my head that is Black Widow now. She didn't win. She was number 2. They didn't even want her. But Emily Blunt was doing Gulliver's Travels with Jack Black.
Jack Black. Jack Black.
Of course you would. So she had to, and I think it was $100,000 difference in salary. So Emily Blunt went and did Jack Black's Travels. None of us watched. No one cares about, and instead, you lost out on $1 bajillion because the character ended up having this long story arc, and
now our own movie and everything else, which has also been pushed back and pushed back and pushed back and pushed back. That's actually one of the big things about the entire thing. I don't know how the movie industry, how long it takes to swing back to. Because, already we're talking about HBO Max, right? All of I forget which studio it is, but every movie they have coming out in 2020, they're releasing on HBO Max the same day.
Warner.
You know what I'm saying? So that's one studio that already is going, hey, we've basically given up on movie theaters. But you've got all these movies like James Bond, Marvel movies, all these movies that are supposed to come out the last 18 months that have just been continued to be pushed back and pushed back and pushed back.
Yeah, and I think what Warner's strategy is perfectly good here, because what this shows the marketplace that is uneducated or unaware that these movies tend to have a shelf life. Right?
Absolutely.
So they need to come out when they're supposed to come out. And the problem, I think, that the studios are having, which is an entirely reasonable one, is how do you roll out to theaters? This is not their fault. How do you roll out to theaters when half the country is open or not open? Or
and the other half that's open aren't going to the movies.
Because they're afraid to sit in a room with a bunch of people. What about the movie theater? The town I grew up in went out of business. New company came in 2019, purchased it, refurbished the whole thing. I actually tried to get an Austin-based theater company to buy that theater. The deal didn't work out, but it would have been a lot of ching in my pocket. But the deal didn't come to anything. But the crazy part is, this new company spent, I don't know, probably $10-15 million upgrading everything.
Absolutely.
Theater seating, all this other stuff. They're closed.
Right.
And now their parking lot is used as a Dos Equis testing site. And that's the most action they're going to get, because it looks like they're going to go out of business again. There's theaters dropping. And so you have this vicious circle where if people even want to go to the theater, there's nothing playing because they're delaying the release of big films because nobody's going to the theater. So
now you have ad revenue, product placement revenue that's going to drop off of a cliff. If you spent, let's say your average Nokia, for example, right? They probably have an average. They know on any given year, this is how much money they pay into being films, right? This is how much money, this is how many different phones, and there's a budget for that. Has that budget just said, that budget say zero today? Because of the way the last 18 months have gone with Dos Equis and everything else? Have they stopped giving that money to I don't know who that check goes to, right? Does it go to the production company or the owners?
Yeah, so if I'm them, right, I go, and listen, this is again another tangent. There is a global microchip shortage.
Absolutely.
Because the country that produces the majority of the world's microchips had a oopsie doopsie for the better part of a year that slowed down production. So the entire marketplace is going to see setbacks. And I don't think we're going to be caught up until like 2024, right? Because I think because it's just,
I agree. I don't know if
one
ever.
setback on top of another. It's going to take time for there to be an equilibrium, so there's enough chips. We have to distribute them. The car people need the chips, and the phone people need the chips. And so if I'm a manufacturer of any product or good that is affected by these shortages, I'm starting to look at my bottom line, and I'm starting to look at my business and going, hey, well, why don't I just go direct to consumer on the internet, where I have a little more control over my supply chain so that I can not launch goods based on what I can actually sell people.
Well, then that turns around and affects the movie industry, because if the movies use certain money from, again, like this story Nokia, to get movies to be made, and they no longer have access to that money, and that means that a movie doesn't get the funding that it needs to get made, or, they have to go somewhere else and find it, does that then certain movies don't get made, or certain studios don't have funding that they were counting on? Because, I mean, they project these things out years and years and years in advance. Right. Studios don't just pop up tomorrow and go, hey, we're making a movie 60 days from now, and ask for funding. And, that's not the way it works, right? Totally, so they project years and years out, because that's when movie stars, they know what movies they're making next year and the year after that. And that. Right. So this has disrupted all of that. I do want to, however, speaking of this movie and Nokia, not only was Nokia, the new Nokia 8.3 5G was going to be in that movie, but also it's good old, we love to call it back in the day, the brick. It also, Nokia 3310. The old-fashioned Nokia 10 is in the movie, and if you're going to put product placement in there, why don't you hold up that phone, and I'm pretty sure I've got one in this house somewhere, because I have every cell phone I've ever had.
Yeah, I know.
I'm sure I have. You hold that up, everybody knows what you're talking about.
Right. It is, by the way, for your information, not the original brick.
It's not the original brick, but those were indestructible. The Nokia 3310s were indestructible. Now, most people say brick. You're talking about the 1980s, right? The big phone. But the Nokia I'm talking about, everybody knows what it looks like. You could throw those out of a building,
I know,
and they would be fine.
Yes, I know. Everyone agrees with you, but I'm saying it wasn't. Listen, the majority.
You have to point out the strange people. These are why, Danny, I love and hate and want to choke them sometimes, because as the audience, what I was talking about. Yes, Danny knows what I was talking about. Right. Yet he feels the need to point out that I wasn't technically correct about something that no one cares about.
And the entire purpose, by the way, of this podcast, to close out the story, is that it's me besting you perpetually.
Oh, is that what it is? I don't know that that's besting. I think it's just irritating. But besting,
I gotcha. Okay.